Have you ever felt as if God hated you? Hi, I'm Nicole with Guiding Echoes, the channel that is devoted to allowing you to discover the wisdom of your soul. So let me start by saying that many of us have felt this way in one way or another. And I myself completely get where you're coming from, because there have been moments and seasons in my life where I thought the same thing. As a teenager, growing up with abusive parents, I wonder why God hated me so much, why he would put me in a situation where I was isolated and abused by the very people that were supposed to love me. As an evangelical Christian in my 20s, I wondered what I was doing to piss God off so much that he would allow my boyfriend to cheat on me, that he would allow me to lose my job, and that he would allow my condo to go into foreclosure when I was out telling the good news of the gospel. And then a few years ago, I would wonder this again. I would wonder why the universe didn't have my back. I would wonder why the universe hates me. So now we've switched from God to the universe, because at the time I had no hope for my future, none. The person that I had loved turned out to be quite narcissistic and very toxic, had basically tricked me into a relationship and never fulfilled his agreement on the role he was supposed to take in that relationship. And he wasn't the person he presented himself to be before we got together. And I ended up moving around the country trying to find my place. I was broke, and I was still doing the work of guiding echoes, but not knowing how I was going to get my needs met, and relying on the kindness of strangers and of friends who would later turn out to be ex-friends, because I didn't know what my next move would be. I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't understand why the universe was allowing all of these terrible things to take place in my life when I was a good person, when I was trying to help people, when I was doing my best to understand the spiritual truths of the universe and to connect with the other side and to form a good relationship with my angels and guides. I didn't understand what was happening. And so the only thing I could come up with is God must hate me. The universe must be really angry with me, and I couldn't figure it out. The reason that we start to feel as if God hates us is because we've been through more tragedies than any person should be allowed to go through. Real trauma messes with our minds. It really does a number on how we view other people, on how we view ourselves, and how we view the world around us. Because when there is all of these tragic and chaotic events taking place and we don't understand it, and if you're a very spiritual person who believes in signs, who believes that the universe can communicate through different experiences, events, and like I said, different signs. That's why angel numbers are a thing, and why signs from heaven are a thing, because the universe does give us signs. Angels do give us signs. Then we can start to mistake different lessons and events for growth as signs. We start to develop a message out of what is meant to be a lesson, and that's where our brain gets scrambled. And this can also be compacted if we don't have a loving, supportive community around us. And when I say a supportive community, I don't necessarily mean the people who come up to you and say, "What do you mean God doesn't love you? Of course God loves you. God loves everyone, and you're so special, and of course the universe loves you." That's not helpful, right? That's not helpful. When you're in a state of distrust towards God, distrust towards the universe, when you're feeling small and neglected and confused, when people come up to you and tell you, "God loves you, how can you think that?" You just start to feel shame, right? Because you might start to think, well, gosh, something must be wrong with me if God hates, or if God does love me and I can't feel that. Like, gosh, what is wrong with me? So you feel shame. That's not a good thing to feel, right? That just adds to the pressure that you already feel. And it's also non-sympathetic and non-compassionate, because when people say, "What are you talking about? Of course God loves you," they're not taking the time to find out why you feel that way. And if they won't take time on the why, they don't really know how to help. So they're kind of jumping the gun a little bit, right? They're not really listening to your concerns. They're not really feeling into your energy, and they're not asking, how can I be of help to you? How can I help you get through this? Like, you must be going through something really hard, really tough. If you believe God hates you, what can I do to help? That is the type of response that is helpful. But unfortunately, it's usually not the response we get. We get people that rush into, God loves you. And because we already have this belief that God is angry with us or God hates us, we can't even fathom that a God who loves us would allow all of these horrible, terrible, tragic events to unfold in our lives, right? It just doesn't add up. I am going to give you a different way of looking at this, and it is going to be very outside the box and probably unlike anything you've heard before. So let me just give you a heads up on that. Also, I want to say that what you're about to hear might feel very uncomfortable at first, might even feel a little blasphemous, but I'm going to ask you to stick with it, to just hear me out, to watch this video to completion, and decide for yourself if this is an idea that you maybe want to entertain for a while to see how it plays out, or if you want to dismiss it entirely and continue to believe that God hates you. You know, it's entirely up to you. So here's what I would like you to keep in mind. All of us have been created by the Creator. All of us have a spark of the divine inside of us. We are not a drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a single drop. That's a quote by my boy Rumi. Or Rummy, however you say it. And so what that quote actually means is that we are all God in different forms. God resides in all of us. And because of that, we're all God. It's kind of like how you are an extension of your family. You're not your parents, right? For some of you, you're thinking, thank God for that. So you're not your parents. However, you do have the DNA of your parents in you. So you have some of their traits. It is the same thing with God. We are all a part of God. So while we are not the main creator, we're not the main parent, we're droplets of God, right? We are little gods. We are maybe lesser gods, because I don't know if we can speak a planet into existence. I don't know that enough of us have ever tried it. Might be kind of cool, might be epically scary. But anyways, that's me going on a tangent. So we are all gods. And what that means is that what we think, what we speak, our behaviors, what we do, the actions we take are all very, very important, because all of these things create our reality. They create our reality because we are gods. We can speak things into existence. Words are extremely powerful. Thoughts, intention are extremely powerful. And it's the reason why prayer, curses, energy healing all work so well. It's the reason intentions work so well. It's the reason affirmations, whether they're positive or negative, work like magic. Because it is magic. You are using your divine source whenever you speak, whenever you put a thought out into the universe, whenever you take any type of action. That is the God within you taking some form of action. Let's put our minds around the idea that everyone around us is a God. Okay? I didn't say they're all good gods. No. We're all gods, because we are all an extension of God. We were created by God. And that means we have evil gods, we have good gods, we have neutral gods. Most people don't know they're gods, so they go around throwing their power around, creating chaos. Their life is in shambles because they don't know they're a god. They don't know that what they do, what they speak, and what they think actually matters, not just for their reality, but for the reality of others. So if at any point in your life, and I mean any point in your life, you have been surrounded by extremely toxic people, or abusers or people who hated you, those were all little gods, right? So those were gods who did hate you. Those were gods who didn't like you. Those were gods who were sending negative intentions your way. And they could have done this in a variety of ways. They may have actually spoken to you and called you terrible things and told you that they hated you. They might have even told you the terrible things they wanted to happen to you. They might have done that. They might have been that evil. They may have thought it. They may have written it down somewhere. Writing is very powerful. You want to be very, very careful about what you write at all times, because writing is an actual spell. You're spelling out something. That's a real spell. It could be that they even prayed against you. It could be that they did an actual spell or ritual. There's a lot of different ways that people can send negative intentions your way. So if we're all gods, and there are evil gods out there, or there's even neutral gods who are throwing their power around, and especially if you have a magician, and by a magician I mean someone who is spiritually inclined and they understand how energy works, that's probably a little more dangerous, because they're going to be a lot more powerful than your typical muggles, and they are intentionally sending your way. So that said, we all have numerous gods who hate us. We all have numerous gods who love us. So just know that you're not incorrect when you say God hates me. You're right. There are gods that hate you, but there are gods who love you, who adore you, and who want what's best for you. So here's what you get to do. You get to stop focusing on the gods who hate you, and you can decide to really kind of create your own God. And by that I mean you get to start focusing on the aspects of the divine that are loving, that are sweet, that are kind, that are compassionate. You start tuning in to that form of source instead. And here's another thing that you can do, okay? Aside from people being gods, because we know that there are outer gods, right? We know that people are gods because we all have God source inside of us, but we also know there's a spirit world. So there's different gods there. There's different angels. There's guides. So a few years ago, when I was going through my last bout of long-lasting depression and hopelessness, and I had no idea, I mean absolutely no idea, what I was going to do with my life, how I was going to make ends meet, or how I was going to survive. I just had no clue. And I was really, truly walking by faith at that point with complete, I wouldn't even say trust in the universe, but still surrendering, because what choice did I have? So at that point in time, I started to change my prayers. Instead of just praying to divine source or to God, I started saying, to the gods and goddesses who have my back, this is my prayer. To the gods and goddesses who believe in me, to the gods and goddesses who believe in my work, to the gods and goddesses who want to work with me, who I can have a great relationship with. That is how I started reframing my prayers, because now it was very intentional and specific regarding the God's attention that I wanted, like who I wanted to make contact with. Because again, the divine source that created all of us is neutral. The divine source that created all of us is neither loving nor hateful. It is neither likable nor unlikable. It does not see things in black and white. It is neutral. But there are different aspects and personality types embedded in the divine source. And so we want to go after the personality aspects, the personalized gods, you could say, that resonate with us. So start putting that prayer out there. Remember, the prayer is, before you say anything, before you speak your intentions, before you tell the universe what it is you want, you say, to the gods or goddesses that have my back, to the gods or goddesses that love me, that take an interest in me, that want to see me to succeed, this is who I am directing my prayer to. That intention has made a huge difference for me. Because what happened is that I think that prayer also went out to people's higher selves, because a whole different form of people started to come into my life too, especially one of my best friends by the name of Rachel. You can follow her on Instagram at Empathy Says. She's a wonderful person, has some great content on her Instagram channel. But she came into my life, and she's a very powerful little goddess too. You know, she's really helped me through a lot. And then there's several other people that started to come into my awareness that began speaking blessings over me, were praying for me, were setting good intentions for me, and allowing me to gain enough faith and confidence in myself again so that I could start digging myself out of the hole that I had been abandoned in. And once I was out of that hole, once I had a very small community of people who believed in me and loved me, and also once I began doing that form of prayer where I was saying to the gods and goddesses who have my back, who want to work with me, who love me, I started to form a much healthier connection to the divine source, and I reconnected with different angels and guides. And so I felt supported and loved by the universe because support and love was starting to pour out to me, all from making that prayer, all from that intention. And now I feel completely comfortable in my God self and my God source, and I am actively creating all sorts of amazing things in my life. And you can do the same thing. You absolutely can. So the point of this video is to let you know that you are not alone in feeling what you feel. And I don't even feel like you're invalid in feeling what you feel. I want you to know that there are people out there who don't like you, who hate you, who want to see you fail. And I know that's terrible, but there's a certain sort of freedom and empowerment that comes from that. When you start to think of the toxic people in your past who want you to fail, you kind of get this spark inside of you that's like, well, screw them. I'm not going to let them get me down. Like, this is not how my story's going to end. No, 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 my friend. I am going to succeed. I am going to do well for myself. And those haters over there, they get to watch me soar. And I hope it eats them up. That is how you claim part of your power back. By saying, no, they are not going to have the last word. This is not how things are going to go down for me. Nope, I won't have it. So just in doing that, that's a form of self-love. That is your God source waking up, getting angry, and hopefully lighting enough fire to make some type of change, positive changes in your life. One of the things you may have heard me talk about before in previous videos is your I am statements. These are so important. These are so important. And so once you recognize that there is a God source inside of you, I want you to start working with that God source to be loved. I want you to start working with that God source to create miracles in your life, because God is inside of you and God is outside of you too. Okay? You are surrounded by a loving source, but you have to feed that intention. Okay? You have to start changing things up a little bit. So start getting in touch with the gods and goddesses who love you. You can do this through prayer. You can do it through meditation. And then you start to get in touch with the God source inside of you, and you start speaking your I am statements. And you speak these over yourself, and you speak them out loud into your reality. So you say things like, I am enough. I am enough. And to be fair, I got that from Marissa Peer. She has a book and all these different talks, and when she talks about just saying that statement is enough to change people's lives, and I've seen it. Just saying I am enough is very powerful. So remember, whenever you say I am, you are speaking to your divinity. You are speaking to the divine source inside of you, and you are claiming that as your divine identity. So whatever follows the words I am needs to be very powerful and very positive, because you don't want to be an evil God. You don't want to be a self-destructive God, right? You want to be a powerful, magnificent, loving, caring, creative God that puts plenty of goodness into the world. So you say things like, I am enough. I am powerful. I am lovable. I am loved. I am a divine being. I am happy. I am happy to be here today. I am living my purpose. I am speaking my being forward. I am doing the best I can today, and that is absolutely enough. You start speaking those things into your awareness, and it's gonna feel weird at first, okay? Because you have a whole other program running right now. It's gonna feel weird, but I want you to do it anyway. Those are my suggestions. Those are my thoughts for those of you who feel that God hates you. Yes, there are people, there are gods who hate you, but there's so much more love out there than hate. There really is. And it's hard to believe that, because whenever we feel a sense of pain, our mind holds on to that and it kind of recreates it because it doesn't want to feel that again. But the problem is that when the mind continually recreates that belief or that situation and it keeps pulling us back into these toxic memories, we feel the stress of that situation all over again, right? And we keep recreating it in our current reality. And clearly, that's not what we want to do, okay? So, speak your I am statements. Talk to the gods and goddesses who love you. Find a community of people who are empathetic towards you. You may want to cut out people from your life who are constantly complaining, who are toxic in one way or another, and who you know in your heart of hearts just isn't good for you. Start giving yourself permission to release those gods because you don't like the intention that they're setting for your life. If you did, you wouldn't be feeling the way that you do, right? So take a look at your environment, take a look at the people around you, and figure out who you need to lovingly release, and at the same time, lovingly accept yourself and the God source within. All right. So I hope you found this video helpful. Again, my name is Nicole Guillaume. I am so excited to have you here. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I would like to welcome you to the Guiding Echoes community. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here on this channel, we love to talk about spiritual topics. So if that is your thing, I know it's mine, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I release new videos in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.